Hello everyone, Sheek here with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing Steamage SA01 Bravo Sergeant by Mechanic. I do have a figure or two by them. This is from the Hearts of Steel comic book. It is supposed to be, obviously, very much a steampunk Bumblebee. On the side, here we have him in his locomotive mode. There he is, locomotive, transforms to 27 steps. Robot mode, and of course he does not have an emblem right there because, you know, copyright reasons and all that. And then on the other side, just another picture on the bottom, warning, contains small parts, and that's about it for the packaging. Okay, Mechanic toys. Anyway, yeah, but Mechanic. Yeah, so that's about it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and get a good look at him. So here we have him out of the packaging, and guilty as charged. If you didn't notice immediately, is he has an All About emblem now. Yes, I put a replay emblem on there, not perfectly centered, which is bugging me, but whatever. Yeah, there's not much I can do about it right now, so for taking it off and I guess put another one on, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. And here he does come with a little section of railroad tracks. It does not come pre-assembled. It's like a bunch of different little pieces, and you tab them together. Like that, you just see the little tab, yeah, push that in, and then there's little half a tabs where if you have more railing, so you can put them together and make a larger track if you get more of the figures. I don't know if this is compatible with some of the other third-party figures that have been made to kind of go along with the Hearts of Steel, but I was unfortunately unable to get a hold of those a while back, but they might be compatible. I hope so. That'd be pretty cool because I wouldn't mind getting some because they were not made by the same company. And he does come with a big old sledgehammer accessory, his weapon, and it does do a transforming type thing, and it doesn't show it in the instructions, but I do believe this is for his alt mode, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about once I get him transformed. But yeah, he does. Like I said, this is his weapon, and he, I guess, can just smash Decepticons into the ground with this. And, or just make railroad tracks with John Henry, who he actually meets in the comic book, which also is an American hero if you're not all familiar with folklore and stuff. And he does come with a character card, where you see Big Ben in the background. This took place in America, so I'm not, or at least I'm pretty sure the comic took place in America. I'm almost certain of that fact. Or, well, yeah, fact. Yeah, it's fact. It took place in America. But there's Big Ben in the background. Don't know why that's there. And then on the back, we have a little bio. Sergeant's upgrade form of Wasp. He transformed into a small double chimney steam train. He is small, enthusiastic, and sometimes likes to say some jokes. In charge of espionage and strategic reconnaissance in the battlefield, he is the best agent and master of covert action. So that's it for the card. It is in a plastic. It's a little more of a matte finish, which is interesting. I haven't seen that before. So that's about it for that. And the instruction booklet, I guess perhaps this is earlier concept art that they decided not to change. Because if you look at this, the head sculpt on here is much more reminiscent of G1 Bumblebee, whereas this one is a little bit more steampunk. But they still both look really cool. I'm not sure which I would have preferred. I'd have to review the head sculpt in the comic book to see which one is more accurate to the comics. But I still like it regardless of whether or not it is 100% true to the comics. During production of this video, I did realize that I forgot to do articulation, so we are going to rectify that very quickly. So, here we have him. His head is on a ball joint. And look up, not very far, can't really look down, but there is a little bit up and down motion. Almost no wiggly waggly. Can do a full 360. Arms can go forward about that far on the shoulder because these shoulder guards get in the way. Back about that far. It is on a ball joint. Arms can go out that far. Bicep swivel. And about 90-degree bend at the elbow. No wrist rotation, just bend at the wrist for transformation. He does have waist rotation, but not right at his hips, up in his chest area. He does have a little bit of a reverse ab crunch and maybe just a little bit forward ab crunch, but that's also more due to the hinge for transformation. He can do almost the full splits, pretty much the full splits. Likes to go forward that far, back that far, and just under 90 degrees bend at the knee. A little bit of ankle tiltage as long as you rotate these two parts together, this part of the ankle and this part of the front of the foot, and that's how you get ankle tilted. And that's about it for his articulation. And we'll go ahead and jump into his transformation. So to get him into his little locomotive mode, you want to go ahead and flip this up, and then you just kind of flip these up like this, flip his arms back around, flip around, and then want to rotate them around, and then this also kind of brings this down a little bit, but this is going to fill in the back of the locomotive. This panel right here is also supposed to flip out and fill this gap right here, although it doesn't necessarily fill it 100%. Like it's just like it kind of does, but it tends to collapse a little bit when transforming him. And once he's completely transformed, it's kind of hard to get in there to actually get him into his to get it back the way it should be once he's completely in his vehicle mode. And you kind of just get these all pressed together, nice and lined up, and then you close this back up around him. Although last time when I first was practicing with trying to transform, it didn't quite line up everything, so we'll see. Maybe it'll work better on camera, but then again, things tend to work worse on camera, so we'll see. We'll definitely see. And then you just collapse his hands in, or just fold him down. Yes, he does have invisible hand syndrome in his vehicle mode, but I'm willing to forgive it, considering that he is a relatively smaller figure. And I feel like they're going for kind of a Chug sort of feel without being Chug, if that makes any sense. Any of you new to Transformers, Chug is just means like mainline figures that aren't necessarily, they're like mass produced. They're not, I mean, that's not to say third party isn't mass produced at all, but on a much larger scale, and also generally for a younger audience that's probably really hard on toys and doesn't necessarily care as much about detail, articulation, and so on. Which I happen to also be a collector of those, but more lately I've been a collector of third party because I have, to an extent, been disappointed with newer figures, or Chug, as if you will. And then go ahead and, probably should this a little bit first, but go ahead and close up the front of the locomotive, or at least the top front. Although getting it to line up just right can be a little bit of a nuisance. There we are. Just get in there, squoze in up, and then just collapse this in. It looks like it's lined up better this time. As you can see, though, it is slightly at an angle, but not as bad as when I messed with him initially. Yeah, and then you just kind of just push that in and back, and there's some tabs on here under the front of the locomotive that tabs into the top part underneath the legs. And then before we collapse those down, we just rotate these back. Rotate back. And then collapse down. And this is kind of supposed to tab into here, but it doesn't necessarily want to stay, but as long as it's mostly there, I don't care too much. But yeah, here we are. Get it tabbed in. Tab in. Okay, there we are. Now we got tabbed in. So here we have him in his little locomotive mode. As you can see, like I mentioned earlier, there's this which kind of collapses in, doesn't want to stay out fully. But I mean, it's not the worst thing, especially considering you're not necessarily going to be looking at that size the whole time. So, and he does roll around on the track, but not super well, especially since you have to put it together. But he does sit on the track, which looks pretty cool. And then I'll show you where his hammer goes. Okay, so before I put his gun or his hammer into storage, what you can do, although it's not showing the instructions, but based on, I guess, my deductive skills, which may or may not be at fault here, but you take this out, flip this back, flip these out, and as you can see, perfectly lines up with the steam stacks. I'm not going to push it in all the way because I did last night, and well, it ended up pulling that off completely. So it looks like it's meant to be, I guess, a little gun potentially, although of course it's a handle, so there's no actual barrel as such. But I guess from the side you can be like, hey, it's a little gun for a tank, or for a tank engine, I guess. There we are. Let's just go ahead and get it back into its hammer mode. It's something that you can do that I discovered that maybe they thought it was really silly. Oh, and I guess I either accidentally pushed those down, but I also want to make sure those are flipped up. They're, I guess, lanterns. They would have been lanterns back then. They wouldn't have been like electric lights or anything, but that'd be their equivalent of headlights. And then you just slide the hammer in place, and it sits behind the wheels. And the feet hold it in place. And then you can just put him on the track. And if you had a John Henry action figure that was appropriately scaled, then you could, I guess, have him hanging off the side, because he is small. Like, he's really small. I mean, John Henry's probably a really big man, but there's no, it's just a locomotive. There's no place for a driver or engineer. So I guess, hypothetically, if he was supposed to be a real-life steam engine of sorts, he probably would have been one that's exclusively for, I guess, hauling things, and I guess maybe the person would stand back here. I really don't know. It's just a way, I guess, to make him a locomotive without making him a big train, because trains are big and Bumblebee was small, and what would you have Bumblebee turn into? Unless, I guess, maybe they potentially had an early carriage, horseless carriage, but they had a horseless carriage, and now I'm just rambling. Anyway, if you like this review of their version of Hearts of Steel Bumblebee, or as they put it, SAO1B Sergeant, and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. And until next time, have a good one, everyone.